Hey, homegirls and homeboys. So today, I want to start off with letting you guys know that this is something that I didn't know myself, but my best friend is an RN. And with the recent events that have been happening, she has been really fussing at me and my daughter to stay away from menstrual tracking apps. Men, I would like, if you guys are listening, to stay here for this conversation as well. Because you never know, if the women in your life don't know, you could pass this information on to them as well. So I understand that menstrual tracking apps for a lot of us women have become an everyday part of life. Like, it's very convenient. I've had my tubes tied since COVID now at this point, but it still helps me, especially because even though I'm not in a position where I like track my ovulation or anything like that anymore, I can find myself like, I'm really moody. I wasn't like that before, but I'm really moody now. And then like a day or two later, it'll let me know like, oh, it's coming. Or, that's not something, you go to the doctor's office, and I don't know if I'm the only person, but when the doctor asks you when was the last like date of your menstrual period or whatever, we all draw a blank. So it's easier to go back to that app and track it. And I even asked my best friend because it had popped up on my Apple Health, right? And it was telling me like, oh, your period is probably going to come in the next 7 days. And I remember sending her a screenshot, and I was like, see, I know I wasn't crazy. And she was like, if you don't take that shit off your phone. And I was like, wait, my tubes are tied. Like, I'm not supposed to have it either. And she was like, no, like, we've been tracking them in our calendars, our physical planners, since we were in high school. You can go back to doing it that way. So it made me want to dig a little deeper. And I've also been seeing other nurses on social media platforms talking about the same thing. And I mean, they work in the medical field, so they can't all be crazy, right? So we know that, these apps, they promise to monitor our cycles. They help us track our symptoms. And for women that are trying to conceive, it also helps you predict fertility. And while this can be an easy way to stay on top of our health, there are hidden risks that many of us, including myself, may not and were not aware of. So today, I'm going to explain why some women are choosing to forego menstrual tracking apps, why I have opted out of them, why my best friend is telling us not to do it, and why you guys may want to reconsider using them too. Menstrual tracking apps have become incredibly popular over the past few years. With just a few taps, you can track your period, your moods, your symptoms, even your fertility window, and it's very convenient, and for some, it's empowering to have all of that data at your fingertips. These apps promise to help you stay organized, spot patterns, and take control of your reproductive health. But while they seem harmless enough on the surface, there are some very real concerns underneath that we need to talk about. So let's start with one of the biggest issues, privacy. Like, duh. I mean, we don't think about it because, our phone is in our hand, but we don't know who and what is tracking our personal information, right? And we hear it all the time, but I guess I know for myself, I never really thought deep into it until the current events that are happening have been happening. So menstrual tracking apps collect a lot of personal data. And we're talking about more than just when you're on your period. They track things like your sexual activity, symptoms, mood changes, and one thing I didn't think about was your location. Here's the problem. All of this data is stored on servers, meaning that it's vulnerable to data breaches at any time. But the risks don't stop there. Many of these apps share your data with third parties, and you might not even know who's accessing your information. Now, why does this matter? Because your reproductive health data is highly sensitive. If this data was to get into the wrong ads, it could be used for things like targeted ads, or in a worst case scenario, surveillance purposes. Now, in the aftermath of significant shifts in reproductive laws, there is a growing concern about how this data could be used. After the overturning of Roe v. Wade in states with abortion bans, this becomes even more dangerous. We need to consider that data from these apps could potentially be used to track pregnancy outcomes or even criminalize women. Imagine if someone's menstrual data was used to infer a miscarriage or a late-term abortion. That's a real risk. One thing that my best friend has told me to tell my doctor, or to tell because my oldest daughter is 16, to tell my oldest daughter's doctor is when they ask, when your last period was, just tell them that it was normal. And she does the same thing with my niece. So that's one thing that she's been stressing to me specifically over the past couple of months, is whenever they ask you when the last date of your period was, just tell them your period is normal. You're not forced by law to give them any dates. You're not forced to give them any information. And if it's a problem for them, get a new doctor. If you're in a state where abortion is banned or severely restricted, using these apps could make you vulnerable to persecution. And that is something that we need to be very cautious about, especially when you have women. So I think about when they're saying like that in my research, I learned that, of course, these apps track your location. I didn't think about it. We don't think about it, but what if you do have someone that travels to, maybe California, and they go to Planned Parenthood or something? If that app shows that their normal location is in, I don't know, one of those red states where it's banned, what happens if you come out here to California and they catch your location at a Planned Parenthood, or they catch you at a medical facility? Then what happens to you? That's a really great thought, because clearly, due to the current events, we're going back in time. So we have no idea how that could affect a woman, or it could affect the doctors that are performing the procedure. And I personally am not here to argue for or against abortion. I don't go that deep. With all due respect, I don't care about your opinion on it. But not all abortions are, I just don't want to have this man's baby. A lot of abortions can be life-saving. So I am a person that just believes that you do what you want to do with your body, and we will leave it at that. Like I said, I will not argue it. If you get in the comments with it, I will block you. Okay. Next up, data misuse. Menstrual apps track a lot more than just your period. They track intimate details about your health, lifestyle, and personal habits. If the wrong people get access to that data, whether through breaches, unauthorized sales, or government requests, it could have serious consequences. Imagine a situation where this data could be used to track pregnancy outcomes or even criminalize women for health decisions. With abortion bans in place in many states, women are facing the possibility that their reproductive health data could be used against them in a legal context. And this may possibly lead to police investigations or even legal action based on data you may not even realize was being tracked. That kind of surveillance is terrifying. The idea that our personal health information could be used to punish us for decisions about our bodies is a chilling consequence of a lack of oversight in these apps. Another huge issue, which I didn't even think about myself, is the accuracy or the lack thereof. Menstrual tracking apps use algorithms to predict your cycle based on the data you input. But here's the thing. Your cycle can vary from month to month for many reasons: stress, illness, changes in diet, even the weather. I know for myself, when I had weight loss surgery, I didn't have a period for like 2 months. My period had changed. My bad, y'all. I needed to take a sip, sorry. So I didn't have a period for like a normal period for like a month and a half, and then when it finally came, I had a period twice in a month. Also, once I got my tubes tied, my period was heavier. When I had my last baby, but I had baby girl, I didn't have a period for 6 months. And so if that was happening now, who knows? Now, I live in California. I'm not going to say I'm safe, but I live in California. But like, who knows? If I didn't have a period for 6 months and I didn't track for 6 months, and then one day I start tracking again, who knows if I was in a state where that's banned, they would think that like, oh shoot, she probably got rid of the baby. You just never know. It's crazy to learn so much about this because, a lot of us just in everyday life, it's not something that we have to think about or worry about or what have you. But it is a real thing, and it is a real concern. For women who are using these apps for family planning or to track fertility, inaccurate predictions can have serious consequences like unintended pregnancies. Even if you're just trying to get an understanding of your health, relying too heavily on data that's based on incomplete or imprecise algorithms could lead to unnecessary anxiety, or worse, missed signs of health issues that need attention, which I didn't think about myself either. The bottom line, these apps might not be as precise as you think. Now, Let's talk about the mental and emotional impact of constantly tracking your cycle. For some women, these apps become an obsession. They check their symptoms, they try to make sure everything is on track, and they might even feel stressed when the data doesn't match their expectations. For some, this constant tracking can lead to increased anxiety or become a source of unnecessary worry about health, fertility, or the status of their cycle. This is particularly important for those who might already have anxiety or other mental health challenges, as obsessing over perfect data can create more harm than good. The pressure to stay on top of everything can quickly turn what's supposed to be a helpful tool into an extra burden. And there's the issue of regulation. Menstrual tracking apps are not subject to the same strict standards as actual medical devices or healthcare tools. In fact, many of them are simply classified as wellness apps. Now that's scary, I didn't think about that. So while you might be relying on these apps to track your cycle or give you health insights, they aren't necessarily vetted by medical professionals, and the advice that they give may not be based on the latest research or health guidelines. This lack of regulation means that there's no guarantee that the information that you get from these apps is reliable, and it's a good reason to be cautious when using them as part of your healthcare plan. So, with all of this information, I know you guys are probably thinking, okay, that's cool. Thank you so much for that. Now, what am I supposed to do instead? Well, you can go old school and track your cycle manually. So one thing that I used to always do, and I'm going to get back into, is just write on, like if you have a planner, I keep a planner in my purse, write it in your planner. So I used to write mine in code. Like when I was in high school, if I would put PS for period started, I'd put PE for period ended. And so it was still my business and not anybody else's, but that way I knew. And so same thing, I'm teaching my kids the same thing, well, my daughters, the same thing. Like, just write it down in your book. Because I feel like, too, if you lose your phone, you're going to lose everything in your phone anyway. But we really don't know what information is being used, on a daily basis. And like I said, I didn't think about that until I did the research on this topic. This method obviously keeps your data completely private, and it still lets you monitor your health without you, unless somebody breaks into your house and steals your calendar. It's not the same as somebody hacking into your phone, you know what I mean? Consult a healthcare provider. If you're concerned about your cycle or need insights into your reproductive health, talk to your healthcare provider. They can provide personal care based on accurate medical guidance. If you do, and I'm saying this very hesitantly because, like I said, my best friend just asked me, so just like, you know what? Nope, you ain't got to worry about it. You said what you said. But if you still want to use an app, look for one with a clear privacy policy that respects your data and offers strong encryption. Also, make sure the app is not selling or sharing your data without your consent. Transparency here is key. So there you have it. While menstrual tracking apps can be helpful tools, they do come with some serious risks, especially when it comes to your privacy, data security. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, y'all. I can't talk today. Data security and accuracy. And for my girlies in states with abortion restrictions, the dangers of using these apps are even more pronounced. And you guys are the ones that I worry about the most. Your data could be used against you in ways you didn't even expect, leading to legal persecution or even criminal charges. So before you download that next app, take a moment to think about how it's going to affect you long term and whether it's really worth the trade-off. Your health and your privacy deserve to be protected. As always, I thank you guys for tuning in today. I appreciate you all so much. And if you found today's conversation helpful, please share this video with someone you care about, and let's keep raising awareness about the tools we use to manage our health. I will see y'all in the next video. Take care of yourself and each other. I appreciate you all so much. Bye.